The introduction should be something like you saying something like,
Welcome to the coach's office. Welcome back to the Coach's Office podcast. It's just JB and I today. No Laura, no Georgie. Maybe next time.
sad day.
It's April 28th, and we're just sitting here around lunchtime. I don't know what JB wants to talk about today, but he said he had some things he wanted to talk about.
I do, but we could start off with something like, how's training been going?
It's been going really good. I'm feeling healthy, which is, I think, the biggest piece for me is like if I feel healthy and I'm not worrying about my knees feeling achy and old, I perform better. And
Yeah. You feel like you could share a 2-minute backstory of why that matters to you? And do you think it translates to members or anybody listening?
Yeah, I think there's a lesson in there. I've kind of bounced back and forth over the years of doing a little bit too much or pushing myself too far in one direction and not letting myself recover and rest and get stronger. And I think that's personal to everybody. Some people can just train every day like animals and they just like go, and it doesn't affect them. I think there's a mental component to that too. So it's probably a combination of a lot of things, but for the lesson for me was some days you just need to learn to back off a specific movement, which is like squatting or lunging or something like that for me. Increase the amount of mobility you're doing enough to maintain good positions. But the biggest thing was just to allow the right amount of rest time. And for me, since I don't want to stop training, it needs to be, let's do something different. So let's do something else. Let's not pick up a heavy barbell right now and do 100 reps of something that's going to trash you. Let's go hit the pool hard. Let's swim hard. Let's just go for a run. We're just going to run and stick with, try to stick with like couplets, triplets, and like single modality stuff. And it allows me to get a really good workout focused on one thing. And then the next time will be something completely different. So I'm not repeating the same movements every single time or the same movement patterns even. I think just changing it up and going back to a little bit of what I used to do in that and not do too much of like one specific thing every day has really helped. It's just being aware of how much I'm doing and then changing it up so that I'm not doing the same thing.
Has it been fun having Alec back?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun having Alec here all the time, so he's very good at a lot of things that I'm not as good at.
Dude,
so
he's an animal.
It's crazy how there's like I always finish the workout, I'm like, there's not many people in the world that can do what he just did. Maybe none.
Right.
So like there's a lot of workouts where he's just really, really good.
It's absurd. It's absurd how good he is. So you're feeling good. Training's going well. Laura bounced last Saturday because she has to do the semifinals in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sad. But,
yeah, it's good having her around.
It's great having her here. The train squad seems to be clicking too. Like y'all, it seems, from the Joe Schmoes that train with you guys all the way, to, you've won. So like, to the best of the best, like it's weird that this space can create such a cohesive place for people to be, even if some of the people that are coming to train at 5 in the afternoon or whatever had just worked a, 8-hour day, but like,
yeah,
really, fallen in place and are doing well. Like that toes to bar workout, the bike, shoulder to overhead, and then max toes to bar workout.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great example where it just looked like everybody's on the same page. Everybody knew what they wanted to do. Everybody had their, desire to hit a specific number. Did you have a specific number you wanted to hit in that workout? Actually, can you explain the workout?
Yeah, the workout was a 12-minute AMRAP.
What does AMRAP mean?
AMRAP's as many reps as possible. So the workout was 12 minutes long. And in that workout, you had to do 5 rounds of 15 calories on the bike erg and 10 shoulder overhead with the barbell at 155. So you had to do 5 rounds of that, and then with whatever time was left in that 12 minutes, you would do max reps toes to bar with time remaining. So you got I got like 6 minutes of toes to bar, and you just do as many as you can. And it's just a grip test. A little bit of upper body work. But yeah, my goal was 100. I said, let's get 100, and I finished with 110. I was happy with that. But yeah, yeah.
It was really good. It was fun to watch.
Good workout.
It was fun to watch. It was hilarious. I was watching and I was thinking, man, I would love to be Ben's full-time coach, even though I have nothing to bring to the table. Like, legitimately, like, I mean, maybe, let's say I do have something to bring to the table. What do I have to bring to the table? I can write down splits so that you don't have to record it, go back, watch it, write your splits down. Like, little things like that. But I was just, like, it was great watching, like, oh, all right, that was a minute 20 round. Your second round was 124. Third was 123. 4, 5 were 120, 120.
It's funny because I don't care about that at all. Like, it's interesting to me, and my dad does it too. Mm-hmm. And I go by feel so much more than I go by the numbers like that. Like, if you told me I had to do 5 rounds and I had to do each round a minute 20, it would only mess me up. It would make me perform worse. But if I just went through it like I did, I got faster as I went through each round.
Yes.
It's like, I want to be able to give that away to people that come in class.
Yeah.
And say, all right, this workout's a 5-round workout, and I'll tell them before the workout as I'm coaching at the whiteboard, hey, let's try to make our 4th and our 5th round our fastest rounds.
Yes.
That's so hard to do, because if you go too slow in the beginning, you end up with all this extra energy at the rounds 4 and rounds 5, and you go faster, and it's still really hard, but you went way faster on rounds 4 and 5, and you went way too slow on rounds 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
So there's a line that you're trying to walk there, that you want to go out fast enough, but you don't want to go out too hard, that you can't finish round 5 faster than you finished, the first round or whatever.
Right.
And that's what I look at when I do a workout like that, is I'm looking at pacing like that. That's what I think of as pacing in a workout. A lot of people don't do this at all. Like, and I don't look at my splits and time them and say, I need to go this pace, this pace, this pace. It's just by feel, and you just go out and try to build through the workout rather than going out as hard as you can and then just hitting a wall and then holding on for dear life.
Did you ever work out that way?
In the beginning, yeah. When I first started CrossFit, that was how I did it. It was just, you would just go
out,
and
hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah, hold on for dear life.
But there are, if you do that, there are workouts where you pay for it, and you pay for it dearly.
Yes.
Like, you don't just finish middle of the pack, like you finish last.
Right. Correct. And that's the competitor side where
yes, you're right.
Where you are, I mean, potentially, you're employing something like that for, like your average gym goer is going to come in and is going to be excited. And the thing that I think about most when you describe that is bodybuilding is muscle failure, right? So, like, one of the best ways to get jacked is to go to muscle failure. Just go bench and do it quick. Don't superset, but do it quick. But, put, let's say, 185 on the bar and go to failure. Rest 40 seconds. Do it again. Go to failure. Rest 40 seconds. Do it again. Go to failure. Maybe do that 3 to 5 times.
Yeah, they've proven that's good. That's like a really good way to build muscle. Yep.
Build muscle.
Hypertrophy training.
Hypertrophy. You get jacked. Body build.
And you have to go to a near failure on your set.
I mean, as close as you can get if you don't have a spot. This CrossFit thing, though, introduced something new because people forget that bodybuilding dominated the exercise science field, sports field, whatever, people's attention for the longest time. I mean, Arnold came on the scene in the 80s and essentially ruined people's psyche and how they viewed themselves for 30 years, I guess. I don't know if anybody's written about this, or I'm sure somebody studied this, but like the second that sort of happened, this Mr. Olympia thing happened, like, and it brings people purpose and it brings people joy. And I'm not, I don't have anything against the bodybuilding community or anything like that. All of us have our problems, whatever it is. However, that one like really, really, really caused some damage, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I could imagine popped into my head was that they're focused specifically on aesthetics and not as much on performance. Although the performance is important, if you get to the top level of like Mr. Olympia, you have to be able to lift heavy.
Right.
You know, insert Ronnie Coleman, right?
Right. Insert Ronnie Coleman.
And Schwarzenegger and those guys, they all lifted heavy.
Don't get me wrong. They
were strong.
They're monsters. Yeah. Like you become very strong for sure. However, but then you had a group arise out of that was like, no, we're really, really strong. Insert strongman.
Or powerlifting.
And you're like, all right, we're going to fix. They were the original antidote to the ego, manifesting and staring at yourself, in the mirror at a Globo gym.
Because they were focused on performance.
Right. But then they also did it while carrying an extra 150 pounds. Body
they
fat. They
sacrificed some things for performance.
Right.
Yeah, there were sacrifices that were made.
It's pretty interesting to me. But insert CrossFit after those, right? So we're going in, this linear progression to, all right, now CrossFit arises. And it takes over, though. Like, it really takes over. Dominates. And it dominates in a way where people, like, the world, the whole globe is like, what is this? I want in on it.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to go back to something. I don't think you can change from the path that CrossFit set the fitness world into.
Correct.
Like it took it and, it just improved it. You know, it brought Instagram to social media or something like that. You know, like it changed the game.
I mean, it resurrected Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah, it did.
Single-handedly. If you are an Olympic weightlifter,
and
anywhere.
They know it. I would even say strongman too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
This is the interesting thing, like, because it's like you create this sport that's focused on nothing specific, but it includes everything.
Yeah.
And then people start becoming interested in who can do the one thing the best.
You just made me think of...
like it revitalizes the passion for it.
Yes. All right, so there's this thing in the world, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not familiar with it or whatever, but they're called conspiracy theories. And conspiracy, and I don't know a lot about it, any of this, so don't at me. But I do know enough to say this. Whenever somebody says, like, proposes a conspiracy, and then the person rebuts it, who they're talking to, supposedly this conspiracy theorist always has an answer for the rebuttal, because that's what conspiracies do. They always answer the question, the unanswerable question. All right.
Whether they're right or wrong, they just answer the question.
Whether they're right or they're wrong.
It's their guess. It's a hypothesis.
Sort of a guess, hypothesis,
been tested,
whatever. Yeah. Insert what you just described, which is CrossFit seems to be this conspiracy theory space. Don't take that the wrong way or out of context. Like,
no, I'll take that exactly how you said it. It seems like it takes. We've been talking about bodybuilding.
Yeah.
The other prominent thing at that same time was running.
Yeah.
People were just all about just running.
Right.
Hey, how many miles do you run today?
Yeah.
Oh, I did 100 miles this week, whatever it was. It was bodybuilding, and then there was running. What else? What else existed there? Cycling, swimming. They were very single modality.
Yes.
Things. Weightlifting existed.
Right. You have Lance Armstrong. You have Michael Phelps.
You had the dominant.
No major runners, though. Like, very rarely was running ever like a prominent like ESPN
but it was just
thing.
But it was just running, like, in general.
Oh no, I'm wrong.
There were Olympics,
no, like the sprinters.
athletes.
The Olympic sprinters were a big deal. Usain Bolt was a big deal. So
Always
you got
been
these
a big
single
deal.
modalities. Yeah, that's right. Cool runnings. I mean, our childhood, that movie, like, that was a big deal.
Yeah, and during these times, the question was, how do I get in shape? What's the best way to live my life that I can get in shape?
Yeah.
And people were asking this question, and people were like, no, you go bodybuild because it gets you strong. And strong people are harder to kill.
Right.
Mark Ripito. And then there's like, the runners are like, no, you just need to go run. And then they're 110 pounds and they can't deadlift their body weight.
Right.
It's like, what's the functionality of that? Well, yeah, I can run away from somebody, but all right. But then the CrossFit comes and it starts to answer these questions. Like it literally starts to define what is fitness. And it did it at a time that was just so interesting. Like if it tried to do it today, it wouldn't, I don't think it would catch on the same as it did in 2006 or whenever it was 2000, whenever it started.
Right.
Because it answered the question, what is fitness? Fitness is this. Work capacity across broad time modal domains, right? What's health? Well, health is this work capacity taken out and extended along your lifetime and keeping your work capacity as high as possible throughout your lifetime.
Right.
That's what health is. How do you get there? Well, let me give you CrossFit in 100 words, right?
Yes.
So it starts to answer these questions, and it fills the holes, like you said. But it's it's a guess. But then how do you know it's true? You go test it.
You go and test it.
Yeah.
And that's why I like both of those things in theory.
Yeah. But it's like, he's Glassman was the eccentric, crazy conspiracy theorist.
Dude, it maps perfectly onto it.
By coming up with this thing that just disrupts everything the world was doing.
Yes.
But that's how you enter into like a new paradigm, into a new era.
Yeah.
It's always the crazy person that has this thought that's new, that's nobody's ever heard of, that half the people, as soon as they see it, react in this like manner of disgust where they just push it away. It's never going to be for them.
Yes.
And then 10 years down the road, they're like, oh, I'm going to go try this CrossFit thing. And everybody that's been doing CrossFit's like, yeah.
Welcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come on.
We've been waiting for you, Neo.
Yeah.
The thing that I wanted to talk about was, I think is a good segue. I actually just, like, in the process of that, was thinking of these 2 books I had just read that last night I couldn't stop thinking about them and sort of formulated my own conspiracy about them. And it was very interesting. You got to read these books. And I'll tell you the 2 names of the books, and all the listeners can go read them or listen to them on Audible, whatever it is. But this is like off topic. Anyways, I'm just sharing. There's this book out called $1 Billion Whale. It's about a guy named Joe Low. And it's super fascinating. His trial, or a trial surrounding him, is going on right now. It's very much in the like inventing Anna, Tinder swindler, bad vegan, like all these sort of like
it's very popular right
con
Yeah.
things that are popping up on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Like the the person that's just tricking people.
Right.
That's what $1 Billion Whale is. And then the other book is called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Now this one
you mentioned this last time, right?
Yeah, this one was super fascinating, and I'm coming back to it because you got to read them. Like, you don't have to read $1 Billion Whale, but you have to read the second one. Like,
okay.
If you don't read it,
Hitman.
Yeah, you're missing out on a great story. It's an awesome story. You should check it out. But I formulated a thought surrounding both of those things because I think Joe Low was an economic hitman. Like, now that I've read the second one, I'm like, this crazy eccentric story that I read as like this. It's nonfiction. It's real. It's true.
Okay.
But then it just seemed like this like party boy, like just wanted to make money and do cocaine. Like, that's kind of like what you assume from the story.
Okay.
Around him. But then I read the second one, and then I started thinking about Joe Low, and I'm like, that's perfect cover. Anyways, I don't want to explain too much. Like, I actually want to just say, hey, if you want to go check this out. That was JB's reading list for.
So what's the name of it again?
$1 Billion Whale.
Okay.
And the second book is Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Okay.
If you have an Audible account,
interesting.
the second one is free. It's included.
Cool.
You don't even have to pay for it.
I've never used that.
But the thing that we haven't talked about that popped up in the front office or the I don't know, waiting area or whatever yesterday was CrossFit etiquette, right? Like everybody was like chirping about things they like or don't like in the gym, or like you should do, you shouldn't do, whatever. And
CrossFit etiquette.
yeah, so because they were all giving me a hard time because I played in a golf tournament on Monday, so I came in my golf stuff, and then they just got roasted because I looked good. Like, what? This is so backwards, but whatever. So, anyways, do you think that there is CrossFit etiquette?
CrossFit. The thing that pops, well, the one thing that pops into my head is Olympic weightlifting, because there's etiquette for Olympic weightlifting where it's like if somebody's about to lift, you don't walk right in front of them. Kind of like when you're putting on a green, you don't cross over the person's line, or you don't like step on the cup. Little things like that. That's the first thing that popped into my head when you said CrossFit etiquette, is that people do it all the time.
That's exactly
because we're often in a class and we're stuck in groups right around each other where we have to lift together. But like people know that you're not supposed to walk right in front of somebody, because it kind of throws your attention off, like because you have to look somewhere, and then once you start thinking about where you're looking in Olympic weightlifting, it's game over.
Yes.
You just have to kind of look out into space.
Right.
Yeah. That's the first thing that popped into my head.
Yes. Turn me down a little bit.
Okay.
Please. So, all right. So you got Olympic. That was up.
Oh, my bad. Wrong way.
We're
even.
That's great. The Olympic weightlifting. Do you have any others? Like, all right, I'll say one.
You say one, and I'll see if something pops into my head.
Let's see if we can go back and forth. We'll see
right.
We'll see who can come up with more. You shouldn't walk in front of someone when they're squatting.
Is that the same thing as the weightlifting one, or no? Is that different?
To me, it's different. It could be. I mean, you could consider it the same, but I think they're different because the space is different. The bar's on the rack. You're usually facing inwards. Like,
here's a controversial one for me.
Okay.
That if I'm training, it doesn't bother me. It depends on the workout. It depends on the day. But most days for most workouts, I'm okay sharing equipment with somebody, like sharing a barbell. If it like works out and I have to rest 20 or 30 seconds extra, it doesn't bother me.
Me too.
Sometimes I think it bothers people sometimes.
It bothers people immensely because I saw somebody freak out like 2 months ago to the point where I was like, I need to say something to this person. Like, hey, that's not like, you don't want to be that type of person.
Yeah.
That bothers. Like I guess in the moment, it's like I can be charitable and say like, all right, cool. I get your frustration. But I think this should be a place where like you should master that frustration like immediately and recognize like, bro, that person has like 2 more calories on the rower.
Yeah.
And there's 30 of us in this class.
Right, and I don't mind waiting an extra 10 seconds. That just means that my first 10 calories when I get on the rower are going to be harder.
Row faster.
You know, it's like an interval. You think of it more like an interval workout. So that doesn't really bother me unless it's a benchmark and I'm testing and I really want to go for, like, I'm trying to compete in this workout.
Yep. Which
you do every day, but not to the extent that 10 or 15 seconds waiting for someone to finish a couple reps would bother me. And sometimes there's another barbell sitting out and you can just kind of, borrow someone else's equipment as well. So you can kind of, it's like, it reminds me of the fastest way to get through traffic is actually to do the jerk thing and cut people off and just slide in where there's space.
Yes.
They tested that on Mythbusters. I remember watching that episode.
Yeah, 100%.
It validated my driving.
Yeah, the zipper sort of model.
I think right. There's a gap that kind of forms. Yes. Kind of like in a CrossFit workout. Like if there's a rounds for time, 10 rounds for time or something, and there's like a barbell that has 3 reps. It's like, you guys, we can share a bar. Like, you don't have to have 8 bars out for 8 people,
Yeah.
6 people, whatever.
There's another, so did I go or did you go?
That was me. That was mine.
The sharing equipment.
Sharing equipment doesn't bother me.
Okay. mine sort of goes with
Wall space is one.
mine goes with sharing. Mine is like even like we could even go spacing. Like I don't need a ton of space.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as like cramp goes, or like moving in and out, or like navigating, doesn't bother me, like in any way. Like handstand push-ups, you know, for instance, like you could legitimately be right beside me and I wouldn't care. Almost doing anything, like you're almost never going to distract me.
Yeah, it's hard to notice that because you're in so much focus and so much struggle in that moment.
Yes.
That's kind of not what you're thinking about.
Right.
Or it shouldn't be. If it is, your priorities are wrong.
Right. Well, coming back to the thing, like the etiquette, I think that there's etiquette of share first.
Sure. You
Like,
could say
personally.
that. Yeah, you could say that.
You know, that was the easiest one for me.
I can't think of too many others.
Sharing is easy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people don't like to share a squat rack or something like that. Like I don't mind lifting in a group like that, and that way you don't have to get out, 225 on 4 different bars. You can just use one bar and just rotate through.
Right.
When you do weightlifting in the class before, you might do a workout.
Right. All right. So we went through like a couple of etiquette things, whereas like the language sort of is giving you a mental block. But now let's go to unspoken rules that aren't necessarily etiquette that exist in the CrossFit space.
Give me an example.
The way that the weights go on the bar.
That's the Krypton thing, I think. Because I don't think anybody else thinks about it.
No way. Comment below if you're listening, or please send Ben a DM if you hear this and you also do this, which is the weights have to be facing in. But this is like age old, bro, and it actually serves a little bit of function. Before the metal weights, before you had bumper plates, metal weights went on sort of backwards so that you could easily take them off. It was easier to hold them.
Yeah, we always put them facing in.
Yeah, you put them on facing in.
Yeah, the wording or whatever was always facing in so that they stacked nice and neat.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. There's like powerlifting things that they do in powerlifting. They like alternate or something like that, like because their plates are thinner and they stack together better, something like that. I don't know. But with CrossFit at our gym, it's like, all right, the power always, we call it the power always stays in. You always keep the words
power
in, or the bolts are always facing in.
Right.
And I pointed out to people that are new, and they're like, why? And I'm just like, just because.
Don't ask. Right.
Just
Unwritten rule.
Yeah.
Right.
That's funny.
There's there's that one. All right, but you're saying that's a gym thing. Potential there's like a unwritten rule that like subconsciously somewhere in a workout taking your shirt off makes you better. That's the thought. I need to take this off right now.
You get that second wind?
Why not? Like there's something in this. Like,
just remember
what is going on?
Image of Jesse Sika at the competition.
Yeah.
Like takes his shirt off, boom, second wind. It's like your song came on when you were running.
Yeah. What is it? There's something fascinating about this, like, Popeye's spinach, which is taking your shirt off.
That's funny.
It's very strange. It doesn't exist, but
I don't know what to say about that
imagine like a basketball player, like just like randomly in game, offensive sequence, takes his jersey off. It's like, I got this, like I gotta hit this game winner.
Well, people do that before they fight, don't they?
Yeah, but
just so you can't like.
That's a weapon. Yeah, they're trying to get rid of the things you can use against them. Typically, in the fight one. There's more.
Okay, let me hear it.
You got
hear it.
Man. Okay.
I got nothing to add to this. I can't think of anything.
All right.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
All right. So sort of like unspoken rules of the gym. Let's just do this gym, like unspoken rules of the gym. You set up rules that exist. So like maybe we can go with that one. Wait in the lobby before your class. Like you can't congregate in the back before your class. That helps everybody. That helps the flow of the classes from 4 to 5, 5 to 6, whatever.
Yeah, it's just busy.
All right. then, you know, that's just like a traffic thing. You have different traffic patterns. You have the punch card so that you can get checkout, you know, quicker. I'm trying to think of any other like normal rules.
You generally listen to the coach when they're talking.
Typically, I think I have created a bad culture in the afternoon of like talking too much, but whatever.
It's interesting how there's like I don't know, I can go off on a tangent here because I can't think of it, but there's another, you know, there's a little bit of another group that trains in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That kind of like exists outside of the class, that kind of like meanders around the gym and finds areas that are open or sometimes not and fills those areas. And I guess it's an issue. I'm sure it's an issue some places, and it's an issue here occasionally. Like it gets in the way sometimes, but.
Are you talking about me?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's generally me. It's mostly me.
Okay.
Like I'm training in the afternoon. We're trying to make this a little outdoor space so that we can have a little bit more
The outdoor
room,
space is going to be dope.
There's an unwritten rule if you're part of that group that you should stay out of the way of the classes. Like the class has precedent. The class takes precedent. But sometimes it's like you think you're out of the way, but you're not really, because the space doesn't bother you. The space doesn't really bother me.
Right.
So I think I'm out of the way, but kind of in the way, and people don't really want to come to get in your way. But I'm always like, look, I'm trying to stay out of y'all's way. So there's that. That's what I think of.
Yes. The etiquette thing surrounding CrossFit is like certain things like think of golf. Like you don't want to walk in front of somebody's ball. You want to mark your ball. You want to try and be as the least of, you don't want to impede anyone in any type of way. CrossFit seems to work a little differently in this space where like when 50 people just do a workout, proper etiquette is to not ask somebody what they got. You usually don't ask somebody their time. Like very rarely. Like there are like certain things built into the space so that you don't have to ask somebody their time. You just do your best and you just get to report your time. Like you don't get to project it.
That's interesting. I ask all the time.
I ask all the time too. But it's sort of, it's a progression. Like I don't think the normal, or so you disagree. So it's not etiquette to not ask your time a little bit, or do you think
I ask all the time just so I know, like if because there's times where it's like, look, I was not up to par there.
Right. What'd you get?
Yeah. But it's done that way as like a check.
Right. Yes. So it is and it isn't.
If you think it is, I don't think it. I doesn't bother me. I do it all the time.
Do you think it bothers people?
Depends on how you perceive it, I think. I don't know.
But all right, so there is some sort of etiquette happening, but not a ton, I guess, that, you know, we're realizing you put your weights back.
You don't finish a workout and like rub it in someone's face.
Right. So there's like sort of like obvious, like just like relational things that like you're not going to do.
Yeah. Don't be a jerk.
Right. Don't be a jerk. Those sorts of things. Then you have like the unwritten things that people don't know about. The power in, like your barbells are going to go one way. Like don't be an idiot. And if everybody's lifting facing this way, don't lift facing the other opposite way. Like
like kind of go with the flow there.
There's going to be a go with the flow sort of thing.
One is always check your ego at the door. That's always one. You
right.
see it written everywhere on CrossFit gyms.
You're going to get, but all right, so you have etiquette, then you have unwritten rules, but then you have this, but then it comes down to you, like you individually, when you walk in, what are your unwritten rules? What are the things that like take place in your subconscious at the gym that you don't know are taking place in your subconscious at the gym? This is what I think is most obvious. If you people watch, if you really observe, you'll really recognize how people move. And most people don't have the time to do that, don't think about doing it, whatever. But I'm always people watching. Like I'm always observing in general. And and hopefully not in like a judgmental way, but just like hoping to know people better or see patterns better, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this interesting thought in counseling that your family has unwritten rules that everyone knows. Specifically, it manifests in things that you don't talk about ever. Like this something we don't do here. Like we don't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is.
See, I think I find good things in that.
I don't think that it's bad or good personally. I think it's just I wonder what it is.
So the thing that comes into my head was I thought of a podcast I listened to recently. I think it was like the PBD podcast, something like that on YouTube. And they had a coach, like it was a women's tennis coach, I believe, on. And they were talking about performance anxiety and stress and something like that. And he was talking about how it's just so prevalent today. Like all these athletes get this type of performance anxiety. And they asked the question, what was it like 10 or 20 years ago? And it's like, this didn't exist. We didn't talk about it. Okay, now did it not exist because you didn't talk about it? And it was one of those unwritten rules that you just man up and you just deal with it.
Right.
Or are we in a different paradigm where it's like you're always being scrutinized for every little thing that you do now because it's all on social media, and we live in a different world where it actually does factor in, and this stuff exists more so than it did in the past for specific reasons that our world right now is producing?
Yes.
Or is it just one of those things that's unwritten that we just didn't talk about it, therefore it didn't exist? It's kind of like try not to think of an elephant. You're going to immediately think of an elephant. Like,
right.
So
right.
Is this sometimes these unwritten rules like that?
What's your hypothesis?
I don't like talking about the unwritten rules. But, I get what you're saying as to you like exploring them and discussing about them, but I see the positive in not talking about them.
All right, so I'll talk for a little bit.
Maybe this is why I don't like sharing.
100%.
Yeah.
My family has some like unwritten rules. And it's sort of around like how you speak about, certain things, or like you approached certain things, whatever it was. Like both of my parents were married before they met. So my dad was married, had 2 kids. My mom was married, had 4 kids. They met, got married, had me. I have 4 brothers, 2 sisters. There's 7 of us. It's the best. Sort of Brady Bunch, like whatever it is. But there was always this weird family dynamic growing up. I didn't know this as a kid. I didn't know there was turmoil. I didn't know stepdads or stepmoms or half brothers or half sisters, or things weren't cohesive and they didn't like them and they didn't like them, or whatever, or they had beef or this or that. It was my family. It was like, this is, I love you all. I love all this. I had no idea because nobody talked about it, right? Like nobody was going to talk about like, but all right. So I don't even need to go into like examples to say like, you've seen enough takes of like kids hating stepdad. That happened in my family. Kids hating stepmom. That happened in my family, type of thing, right? But you didn't talk about it. And by not talking about it, it was sort of like, so what happens if you don't talk about it? Like, what arises? Do you heal? Do you not heal? Do you move forward? You certainly get things done, but I don't know, is something always lingering? And I think there's this space right now where people are like, oh, I think I want to like entertain trying to talk about these, unwritten rules or whatever it is. And it's interesting to me personally how this space, right? I'll tie it all together. How this space has the ability for you to be introspective in that way, and it actually allows you to attack some of those in yourself, like working your weakness, right? Because most of those things, most of those unwritten rules are based around trying to keep things from becoming weak or exposing them in a nature, and exposing them to a place where if you're not going to talk about it and you're not going to discuss it and you're not going to try and diagnose what's going on here, then what's happening? Like, are you going to remain healthy? Are you going to get better? Are you going to prolong the inevitable? Are you really just kicking the can down the road on these issues coming out at some point, at some time? Like, hey, you're going to have to talk about this, or you're going to have to deal with this, or, whatever it is.
Yeah, I definitely see the benefit in thinking about these things and talking about them. I guess we have two different ideas of what the topic is of the discussion.
Yes.
Yeah. Because if you have an issue that's never discussed, of course it's going to grow into this thing that you're going to have to deal with, this monster that you're going to have to deal with later.
Right. And you can track that to movement. Mm-hmm. If you don't address the movement, the air squat that's wrong, and you do 1,000 of them, that monster will bore its head and it will mess you up.
Absolutely.
All right. If we're going to use this place as sort of a cosmic pattern, because I think CrossFit it really is a good place to find this cosmic pattern. But and when I say cosmic pattern, I'm always connecting it to God, like always. Like it is.
That's what you get when you hear stories,
right? When
you read the Bible, like that's what you're getting,
right?
You're getting patterns. You're getting cosmic patterns told to you in story form.
And the reason that I'm enjoying this thought of like etiquette, unwritten rules of a group and of an individual is because there's sort of these unwritten rules that come up around all of these things. And this is why, let me sort of bring it home a little bit for you. When you don't talk about something for long enough, there's a chance that somebody is going to come along and weaponize that thing against you. And then imagine if it's something that's controversial, and then they can really use it, and they could like use it to harm you, like maybe like harm your reputation, or they're calling on past history in a way that's like that leaves you in a place of like you can't make sense of what's going on. It's sort of making you question reality. Like, is any of this does any of this actually matter? If you don't have a way to, like, what is your, like, how can you combat that? What is the way to combat that? We constantly talk about sort of we're doing it right now. You're saying potentially not address it, not address it, but like move forward. Do something about it.
It's different. It's
sort of like a be about it. All right.
Right.
Or,
that's more where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Like go out and do.
Because there's more value in doing than there is about talking about it.
Right. All right. And then there's also this space of this like talking about it space.
Yeah. Because if you don't talk about it, then it's going to be this thing that exists that, you could weaponize it, sure.
Right.
Or you could not be aware of it.
Which is
which is another part.
It's another part. J.R. Smith, professional basketball player, just recently won like academic player of the year, went back to college, wanted to get his degree, is golfing. I guess it's good enough to golf on this.
That's impressive.
Team, and
that's really impressive.
And came out and said made some sort of statement about mental health or whatever. And this topic of mental health is very, 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 very interesting to me. And the reason that I brought up the etiquette, the reason that I brought up the unspoken rules or whatever, is because it all comes back to the individual and their mental health. Mental health. It's a new thing that we're talking about. Mental health. all right. He comes out and says, I think it's messed up that we can't talk about mental health. You know, like it's the vulnerability of sharing, hey, I have some mental health thing going on is like a cancelable offense. Something along those lines.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Well, it's in the point of like, well,
it's like an unwritten rule.
It's an unwritten rule of like, if somebody brings up mental health,
someone just says, oh, they're mentally weak.
Well, it immediately asserts that this person is in a place of weakness.
Like the critiques of Simone Biles, for example.
Bro, that's exactly where I was going with this.
Okay.
All right.
Because that's what they were talking about on this podcast as well. It's very interesting.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude,
they
so I'm
her.
watching that whole thing go down, and I'm like, damn. Like, this girl is legitimately the best ever at this thing. And, yeah, she got to this place, and she's got vertigo, and she's got the spins, and can't perform.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is the question. Do you think she is choosing not to perform? Like, why do you think do you think she's choosing not to perform but actually could? Like, because that's what everybody's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
She could actually do this, you know.
There's an expectation there.
Right.
That's now this thing that exists outside of her. And her expectations, if she lets her expectations conform to the expectations of the world, is when she then has a conflict within herself.
Right. And that conflict already existed within herself.
Absolutely.
For this is my identity. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is like...
A lot of athletes struggle with that, like big time. That's a huge problem.
Right.
Huge problem.
Right. And and so you can scale that all the way to the regular Joe Schmo that walks in the gym, that walks through the door, that's observing etiquette, that's trying to pick up on the unspoken rules. This is why the gym intimidates people. They think they're walking into a place that has etiquette and unspoken rules that either they're going to pick up and be in on and invited into or not. And I think something that CrossFit does and something that happens in this space is that the etiquette is not this like hard thing to pick up on.
Mm-hmm.
The unspoken rules are they're not bullies. Like they're not there to make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, they're there to make you better.
Right.
Or it's like it holds your feet to the fire in a way.
Yeah, some sort of like it's cohesive maybe.
Kind of like an iron sharpens iron idea.
I really like that. That is definitely good.
Yeah.
But poor Simone Biles gets roasted. I mean, roasted. For what? For her telling the truth?
Mm-hmm. I didn't think that whole situation. I don't know much about it, but I didn't see the reason why people were so aggressive towards her. Like, I'm not going to stand there and say she's mentally weak at all.
Bro. And that's what...
Like, I really can't believe that somebody would actually...
Everyone.
Yeah. Because it's like...
Minus, actually, if you wanted to go politically, the right got that wrong. The right was individual, you're weak, you better go perform.
Mm-hmm.
The left, compassionate, caring, progressive in a way to say, bro, pay attention to this. Pay attention to what this person is saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like...
I mean, I'm going to come at it from a completely practical standpoint. Like, one, sure, I've like been in a type of situation like we all mostly have, where you're good at something and
right
thoughts creep in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everybody has existed in that space.
Right.
So everybody should be able to kind of understand, but there's everybody should be able to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And see it. But it's not like coming from a place of, I don't know about that person enough to place judgment on them. Like, I don't know if they didn't just struggle with something completely unrelated to their sport or their job.
Right.
That, like, hey, that could have just thrown it off. Like, there's a lot of gears that would need to come together really well to perform at a level like that, or to perform, period.
Right.
Like, to just imagine your day to day, how many things have to go well to fit in to make you finish the day and be like, that was a good day.
Right. Exactly.
Like, and then there's things that, like, your car battery can die. And it's like, okay, your next 3 days are screwed because you have to figure out how to get your car jumped to the shop to get a battery, or to go to the store and get a battery somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it throws you off completely.
Yes.
And then you meet somebody that day, and then that person judges you immediately, for whatever it is, but they don't know that have all of these things that you're trying to juggle, and then your car battery dies or something like that. So I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt over immediately casting judgment on them. And yeah, I don't know. That's just me. That's my opinion. I think people definitely overreacted if they were that harsh, but from her perspective, then, if you focus on that and listen to it, you're not going to make it any better, So it's a two-way street there. It's not just one direction. It's not just one person causing all the problems.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. I'm just curious. When you specifically run into mental hurdles, what is your do you feel like you can navigate them? Like, are you able to get over them? And you personally, how do you get over them without this trying to be a prescriptive thing for the rest of the world to take away, so that they could do it, even though they probably could? Just a you thing.
Yeah. Most of my career has been like, all right, let's just push through it. Like, you're good. Push through it. Ignore it. Forget about it. You don't need to. Don't think about it. Dude. Kind of way, right? Like, go harder.
Yes.
And like, yeah, that has worked really well, and it works really well. It's really, really good.
There is the most funny political bit on YouTube by a page called JREG, where he goes and he brings up the most controversial topics. And he says, change my mind. And then, like, people will come up and they'll say something to him about, like, think of the most controversial thing. And he'll be like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
But he says it for everything.
Right.
And then, like, it's to the point where you're like, wait a second. Like, yeah, that doesn't bother me because I just don't think about it. Is a fascinating. Like, it's actually worth entertaining.
Why?
Not to say that because of what you're saying. What has it done for you?
Yeah, yes. My goal was something completely different. If my goal is to sit down with you and have an intellectual discussion about a topic, I'm not going to say, it doesn't bother me, I just don't think about it. You shut down the conversation immediately. Right. But if I'm trying to train for the CrossFit Games and something comes up that's, unrelated but going to cause me a ton of problems or issues, like, I'm going to cast that thing to the side for a little bit, and I'm going to go focus on this thing over here.
Right.
So in that moment, I'm like, look, I don't really need to worry about this right now. There are other things that I'm focused on.
Right.
So there's that. But then there's times like, which I understand the Simone Biles thing a little bit better, because it's like when my body hurts, like, and not just, trust me, I know the difference between hurt and like injured hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're injured, it's different.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to pass that mental block. Like, most athletes are like, oh, I tweaked something, I'm out, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I would grind through that until I was in the hospital.
Right.
And that was my problem.
Right.
Because I didn't know. I knew it. I knew I was injured, but I didn't know when to stop, because I was like, where's the borderline of you could just be tougher? Like, just suck it up and go again. And like, there were 6 years before I won the games. 6 games I competed in before I won. I was injured every single one of them. Like, bad. Like, to the point where I struggled to bend over and tie my shoes before events. And then I'd go out and deadlift 315 for 45 reps.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you just hold your breath and go, Right. And it's like, nobody sees that. Nobody understands that.
They don't get it.
But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I was.
For sure.
I wouldn't have learned the things that I did. I wouldn't be sitting here saying that I learned from that moment, that experience. And then lately I've had times where it's like I just can't think about anything other than the pain. And then that takes away from my performance, and I'm not at the level that I need to be at. And that's when I need to be able to say, okay, slow down. Let's step back, figure it out, and then we can move forward again.
Because this is my point. You can't have an unwritten rule that you can't talk about when you actually need to stop. Because every individual, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you have to be able to say, this can't go on any longer. Please let us talk, because you have to be relationally able to say, please forgive me. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
By the grace of God, I'll be better next time. You have to. And it's only going to come if you're able to do what you just did. Like, because there's going to be points where, like, you don't want to be the person in a relationship that, like, just holds this person to a perfect standard where, like, they can't do anything wrong. Like, you can't get over anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't work through anything. You know, like, everything is going to trigger you. Everything is going to put you into a place that is infuriating. No, man, you need to be able to deadlift when you don't feel like deadlifting. You know, you need to be able to fill in the blank.
Sure.
But
yeah, where's that line? Right?
Where's that line?
Where's the line of, okay, you're going to carry this today?
Most people, I think, my hypothesis is that can only be developed in the physical world and then transferred into the spiritual, or transferred into the mind, let's say, or the psyche.
I get that. I understand that hypothesis.
Because, like, most people are never going to go and do mental work, like do actual WODs on their mind and their brain and their communication and their talking. And their
I'd say some people do, though. Some
Who?
people do.
Like higher education, like PhDs, like these.
Yeah,
you know,
but I've thought about that. I'm like, what? You know, that's the battle that they fight. Like, some of them, they haven't moved physically in their life. Like, they're incapable of doing things, right? But they can.
For sure.
They can. That workout is just all in their brain.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they spend their time and effort and energy doing.
At like the end of that, like the most extreme version, that's where like sickness happens. Like that's where like obsessive compulsive disorder happens. Like the people that stay in that space end up getting to the place of imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like at the nth degree.
Sure, just like we might sacrifice a little bit of wellness for fitness or
Right.
something like that. Something along those lines if you're going to be competitive.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think I'm speaking of a different group that's just way out there, you know. I'm not talking about the average person.
And for me, like getting to do this, right? This is the psyche, this is the WOD, this is the brain WOD.
Mm-hmm.
Talking, right? Like,
yeah,
you have to talk about stuff,
right?
like you have to. If you don't, you just become this reservoir for what? Like, you're storing up all these things for what reason? You fill up a glass of water, bro, drink it and get rid of it. Like, share.
Mm-hmm. That seems to be a cosmic pattern,
Right.
when it comes to giving or being generous.
This is my last thought. And to everyone who's listened to this podcast, it has gone the way that has gone today because of me. And this is what I wanted to talk about, and I didn't have any fully formed thoughts, and they will become better as they go on, but I don't care. Sometimes I don't know. I feel personally like I missed today, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, really?
I had a target to aim at.
With the CrossFit Etiquette?
it started with the CrossFit etiquette, but the whole reason that I wanted to talk about CrossFit etiquette was I wanted to talk about personal etiquette, and then I wanted to talk about unwritten rules, and then I wanted to talk about why unwritten rules manifest the way they do in your life, and then how you carry them over. So, like, imagine if you have an unwritten rule in your house that public displays of affection aren't really acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And then you meet somebody who you fall in love with, who is a public display of affection person, and now you're an immovable object up against an unstoppable force.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do if you don't know how to talk about it?
Yeah, you're going to struggle.
Right. Good luck.
Yeah.
And then now you just struggle. Now you're in the struggle. How long are you in the struggle for?
Depends.
Well, if you haven't been given the ability to exercise the struggle, which I believe is in communication, you're done for.
Sure.
And I don't want you to be done for. Like, I don't want the person that walks into the gym that doesn't know the CrossFit etiquette to see around and say, hey, there's some sort of etiquette here. I don't know if I'm ever going to fit in. I don't know if I'm ever going to learn it. I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. I hate the thought of somebody leaving.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a cascading effect there. Multiple thoughts back to back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's not too much CrossFit etiquette, I'd say. I can't think of too much CrossFit etiquette that I wouldn't be willing to just say, talk about,
right,
or express to somebody in a sentence and then they understand it.
Right. But, like, some people put their towel on machines and they think that it's etiquette for you to not remove that and for you to know that, like, this rower is theirs. And it's like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'll move the machines around every now and then that's my way of telling them.
Yeah, right. Right. It's just, yeah. It's all super fascinating to me.
Okay.
And the end of it is because I don't think you can tell yourself you're good enough. I don't think you're the ultimate ideal on your life.
Speaking in the CrossFit realm or in general.
I mean, I just immediately went to, like, mental health. Like, I just, we probably have to explore that one more. What I'm trying to say is you need something outside of, you will eventually, if you're the one telling yourself that you're doing good enough, you will eventually get to the place where you're like, I'm not doing well. I'm not good enough. I'm not okay. Yeah,
I mean, it depends on the group you're around, too. Depends on who you surround yourself with.
Right.
Like, big time.
Yeah.
I was talking about this just this morning, was just how you can think you're one thing, or you can think you're, the biggest fish in the fishbowl, and then you get tossed into a pond, and then then you get tossed into a lake, and then you get tossed into the ocean. It's like it changes you if you're unprepared for the change.
Right.
If you already have judged yourself and think you're this thing that you might not be.
Right.
If you are not open.
Oh, I can fix my statement.
Okay.
Your value, you are unable to value yourself. You're
unable to place value on yourself.
You're unable to place your own value on yourself.
Why would I want to place a specific value on myself?
Go and look at any mental health thing being said right now. It's all going to be
Oh, because it's all about trying to...
You're enough. Tell yourself you're enough.
Mm-hmm.
My hypothesis is that you can tell yourself you're enough until you can't. And you need something else to tell you you're enough. And you might as well go to the highest ideal to tell you that you're enough. People have lost this. Like, you...
Oh, they're trying to... They're down here on the base level trying to tell themselves that they're good enough.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be enough. It's like never going to satisfy the need in themselves. Like, make $100,000 and it's not going to satisfy your need for wanting to make more money.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Exactly. Let us know what you think about this, because this is free-flowing consciousness thought right now.
Yeah, we could talk about that more. That's good.
Right. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you listening to my...
That was interesting.
My mental wandering today.
Love it.
Hooty hoo.